In a world full of distractions, there is one big question on every dog owner's lips.
How do I become more than just the person holding the other end of the leash?
We all get dogs with a dream in mind, a vision of the future. And if right now your everyday reality isn't quite that picture you had in mind, you are in the right place.
It really doesn't have to be this way.
You absolutely can and will be more to your dog than just the person who gets in between them and the world.
The key is you need to be more sexy.
More sexy than the neighbourhood cat.
More sexy than the jogger in the park.
More sexy than that half-eaten hamburger they just found on the floor.
And yes, even more sexy than the dog across the road.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Lauren.
Together we're absolute dogs.
And you're listening to the Sexier Than A Squirrel podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sexier Than A Squirrel podcast, the podcast that gives you real life dog training results. And today I feel really privileged, humbled and excited to be speaking to a great student, a friend, someone who has been in the program for a good few years now. And that's Mayuri. Mayuri, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and sing your praises even bigger than I can, because I'm really, really proud of what you do. I'm proud of what you do. I'm proud of what you stand for. And I'm proud of what you do for dogs.
Thank you for such a warm welcome, Lauren. Hi, everyone. My name is Mayuri. I'm a dentist, biomedical engineer, and now professional dog trainer. So my professional dog training journey started with Tom and Lauren completely unexpectedly.
And when you say completely, I'm just going to tell everybody, I've got Brave with me. Brave is eating many chews. So if you hear any noises, Brave's having an interesting day. So we're working on just being out here and chilling. So if everyone can hear us, that's Brave. And I know Brave would love to say hello to everyone anyway. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved, where this came from, because I love how you describe I'm like a dentist and I'm a dog trainer. And so it's like amazing news. And I know you've completely changed your life. And we've just been chatting. I mean, God, for the better. Like, I really think there are some amazing results you've had here. How did this all come about? Because this sounds pretty incredible.
So I'll start way back. I was a teenager, always wanted a dog. Family never wanted one. I grew up in India. And when we got a dog, I was a teenager. It was a Doberman because my father wouldn't let me get any of the Indian street dogs home, which I used to love. So we got a Doberman puppy, and I asked my veterinarian for a training book because I knew with dogs, it was important to train them. So he gave me some books, and they were, the old style. Scruff your dog, use a choke chain, yell at them, bop them on the snout. So that's what I did because I thought those were the correct things to do because it said in the book. I had no understanding of positive reinforcement training or positive anything at that point. And I ruined that dog. At the age of 2 years old, nobody in the family could touch him. He bit everybody. He's bitten me 5 times. I still have the scars. The only person in the family who could pet this dog was my grandfather. And I always noticed how respectful his relationship with that dog was, how kind he always was to this dog. And that was the only person in the family that dog would allow close to him. It was too late for me. I didn't know any other way. I also trained other dogs. I trained my neighbors' dogs. I trained my friends' dogs using the same techniques. Some dogs did fine. Other dogs didn't do so great. And I realized very quickly that I am doing something really wrong here. And when my dog got to 2 years old, he was a 110-pound Doberman. He could have killed me if he wanted. I wasn't a very large kid. But he never did. But he let me know that he didn't trust me. So I swore to myself that I would never do this again, but I didn't quite know what exactly to do. So when he passed and we got another puppy, German Shepherd this time, I had decided that rewards were no good, no food, because then I had heard that if you give a dog food, then they'll only work for food. So no food. But I trained him just on praise and affection. And he was such a people pleaser that worked for him. So I still used a bit of punishment, don't get me wrong, but it far outweighed the reward. I mean, the praise and affection far outweighed any of the punishment. He turned out to be a great family dog. And I was like, okay, there is something to this being nice thing and being kind thing. So fast forward to many years later, I moved to the United States to do my biomedical engineering degree. And I started volunteering in local shelters and rescues because I missed my German Shepherd very much. And then I looked around me and I was like, I don't think what I learned from those books way back when was correct. Let me update my knowledge. So I learned about clicker training so that I could help the shelter dogs get adopted. And clicker training was great. It was like, oh, you click treat in the dog and you can use food. Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't know that, but okay, I'll use food, whatever. Then this one happened. Rosie came into my life in 2016.
And tell us
And
about Rosie, because I think Rosie, again, has changed your life in many, many ways, right? Like you are a special owner for a special dog like Rosie.
Rosie came to me from the shelter with open wounds and bruises on her. She had cuts on her body. She had scars from old healed wounds. She was very quiet the first 3 weeks. And after that, she decided that she needed to teach me that whatever I thought I knew about dogs and training needed to go out the window. Rosie had a laundry list of issues. She attacked my husband every single day. She nipped and bit him. She resource guarded food. She resource guarded toys. She did not like strangers. She has bitten visitors. She was okay with dogs. She didn't care about them. But then a couple months into having her, she got attacked by a German Shepherd. And after that, she started several dog fights, almost got kicked out of the daycare that I used to sometimes have to send her to. She used to bark so much and was so noise sensitive. Just someone closing a car door would set her off. We almost got evicted from our apartment because of how much she barked. I was at my wit's end. We couldn't walk on the street. This girl has nipped a 1-year-old at his own birthday party. I wanted the earth to swallow me up that day. But we couldn't walk. She pulled like a train. She lunged and barked at anything within snapping distance. Joggers, bikers, strollers, it didn't matter. And I didn't know.
Everything was game. Everything was game.
Everything was game and everything was a problem. No, I couldn't have visitors. I had just resigned myself to never seeing anyone. But the point was she was still attacking my husband, and my husband's a saint, to be honest. He kept telling me, I know it's just she has difficulty. I'm not going to take this personally. And I was like, thank goodness, because I had volunteered in shelters enough at that point to know what would happen if I took her back.
Let's be honest, this is a sort of thing for relationships that actually can break relationships, right?
Yes, absolutely. It did put a strain on our relationship. Don't get me wrong. It was hard. And I spent 3 years looking for the answer. I kept going to conferences. I kept going to talks. I tried to listen to other experienced dog trainers. Initially, I tried to find trainers. And every trainer that I met then told me, yeah, put a shock collar on her. What's the problem? And by that time, I knew enough to know that pain and intimidation and force from personal experience and also from the new knowledge I had gained, that doesn't work. I was desperate. I had resigned myself to never having a life. She could only be walked with a muzzle on a short, tight leash because she was just always scanning for, it was just living with her day in, day out was extremely stressful. And I had no clue what to do with her. Every trick in the box had failed. And I was like, this is my life. That's it. This is all we're going to do now. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't go anywhere because no one would take her for boarding. So we were prisoners in our own home. And then one day, while scrolling Facebook, I see these two people in an ad for a leash off game on workshop or DVD. And I was like, what is this? And I watched the video. I remember rewatching that video 3 times because I was like, they look happy. Their dogs look happy. This looks good. It's only, it wasn't very expensive. Like, I'll try this, whatever. If it's not good, whatever. I don't mind wasting that money. That's how I started. I got the DVD. I watched it and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I still remember there was one game where I think I bought another program after it. And I think, Lauren, in that video, you were talking about novelty or something, and you held up a prong collar. And I was like, no, they've lied to me.
Yes.
And then you put it in a noise box. And I was like, oh.
We were using it for something. We did a little bit of a game with it. Like, look at this. And that's what we use this for.
I will tell you, my heart skipped a beat. And I was like, no, I have been tricked. But no,
I was loving these guys. And then they duped me. They tricked me.
Yeah. But no, it was amazing. Then I jumped into Training Academy because I wanted to learn more about the games because they seemed like fun things. Rosie had no problem with recalls. She in fact, she stuck to me too much. She was a Velcro dog. I couldn't get rid of her if I wanted to. Oh, I couldn't be in a room by myself anywhere. She had to be a foot away from me all the time. And it was cute and it was exhausting. But So yeah, I was like, I have no problem with recall. This dog's always here. She's never leaving me, even if I let her go outside. So I jumped into training academy because Rosie had actually just had her third dog fight, which she tried to finish and hurt the other dog pretty badly. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this dog anymore. So in training academy, I started, and initially it was a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
But there were so many kind people. And I was like, wow, a space with dogs, with nice people, unicorn land. I don't know this, because on the social media can be pretty vicious, to be honest.
Oh,
and
no.
for a person who sounds and looks like me, sometimes even more. So
that is not how it should be, right? And yet social media, I agree, can be really brutal, like really brutal.
Yeah, especially dog spaces where everybody, the joke I'm sure that you've heard of many times is the only things two dog trainers can agree on is that the third one's wrong.
Yeah, exactly, that they disagree.
So it was very nice to be in that space. And 4 weeks of being in training academy and playing some of the games, Rosie greeted my husband at the door. And I still get goosebumps when I say this. For 3 years, this dog, at the sight of him, had attacked him. And she went full body wag, wiggling to greet him at the door. And I was like, that must have been a fluke. However, the next day, I was walking out of our apartment and the dog she had attacked walked by. And I was like, and I froze because I was like, she's going to do it again. And you know what Rosie did? She looked at the dog and she looked at me. And I was like, what sorcery is this? Whatever this is, I need more of this in my life. So I was already at a stage where I've always loved animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was 3 or 4 years old. Ever since I could articulate, I would say animal doctor. I didn't know the word veterinarian. I would always say animal doctor. I never got to do it for many reasons, but I have always wanted to work with animals, and that urge never went away. So now that I had this freedom to do what I wanted to do, I was like, I want to be a professional. And I was looking through several professional programs at the time, and none of them they were either not accepting of me or they were not accepting of a dog like Rosie, because they wanted dogs that were better behaved than her. And I was like, but if you're teaching me to be a dog trainer, why can't you help me with my dog? And if you cannot help me with my dog, what good is your program?
Yeah. And if you're not inclusive of dogs like Rosie, like for me, one of the reasons that I wanted to start Pro Dog Trainer Training Academy, all of the things we do, is Poppy, because I felt so excluded by owning her and embarrassed, ashamed, made to feel unwelcome, made to feel that I had a real problem, made to feel that this was something I had created or I had done wrong, and I should feel very guilty for her, and I should really apologize for her behavior and remove her from society effectively. Whereas for me, all I wanted was someone's help. I just wanted someone's help. I wanted someone to help me know what to do. And then I realized sometimes we have to create our own, right? Like we have to actually start this program from the ground up.
And I think similar to what you experienced, I think that was part of it, so it came to a point where after Product Trainer and PDT Geek, don't get me wrong, I did both programs. Rosie is not perfect by any means. She, like I said, she continues to challenge me on a daily basis. She will do something and be like, your turn, your move. Tell me what you're going to do, Mayuri, because this does not fit anything that you know. Come on, figure this out. So I love that about her, because if it wasn't for how difficult she is, I wouldn't have been a better trainer.
Your skills as a trainer would make you capable of handling, I mean, I would say coming into my house and handling my dogs, or coming to Tom's house and handling Tom's dogs, because these are the skills that a lot of people don't ever learn without having a dog like Rosie, right? Like Poppy skilled me up.
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe that I owe a lot of my learning. You are my teacher, Tom's my teacher, Rosie's also my teacher.
Absolutely.
Because all of you have taught me so much. And, when I had Rosie and I really wanted another dog, I've always wanted as many dogs as I could have, really, as much as was feasible. With Rosie, I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to wait for Rosie to pass before I get another dog. Maybe I'll just adopt 2 at a time next time. And then I started with the PDT program. I started with PDT Geek because I'm a scientist by day. I'm a dentist, biomedical engineer. I head clinical affairs at a dental device company, and I conduct clinical studies. I conduct benchtop studies. So I design experiments and, look at data, analyze results, write papers for publication. That's my job. It's my day job. So the scientific aspect of PDT and Geek was so interesting for me. One other thing that I learned a lot from PDT is the social aspect. And what I mean by that is interfacing with people. I already had good skills because I came as a dentist who worked with people day in, day out for years before I moved to the United States. So simplifying things down, explaining it to the patient, making sure they're comfortable, especially in a scary place like a dentist's office. I wanted to be.
I can relate to this. I can relate to this right now. I'm like, I have never felt like I wanted to hold someone's hand so badly as when I was about wisdom tooth out. And I was like, where has this come from? Like, I want to hold someone's hand. This is ridiculous. Like, I get it with math stuff, but like the whole new level of communicating with people, right? Like a whole new level.
Absolutely.
Because of the place people are. Brave.
Yeah. So I feel like that had already given me a good foundation, but I learned a lot more in PDT, especially when it came to handling people and their dogs. Now it's not just the person that you're dealing with. So that was super useful. And then, of course, I was doing the program to help Rosie because, why else would I do anything? And at the end of the program, Rosie had made so much progress. People who were seeing her were like, wow, she's quite a lot calmer. I was like, yes, finally, I'm not the person with the crazy dog. But what I kept seeing around me was dogs like Rosie being sent off to trainers who were using non-scientific methods.
And Mayuri, the scary thing is, like, here there is a bus that collects these dogs and they take them to a remote training space. Like, they'll take 30 dogs from around like normal homes. They'll keep them for 4 weeks and they'll do what they call residential positive, what do they call it? There's a word for it. You'll know, the balanced trainers.
The balanced training, yes.
And they will take up to like 30 dogs. They'll go to places like London and stuff, and they'll pick up these dogs and they literally will go and take them to training centers. My fear is, what do they do with them, right?
I feel like anytime your dog's taken away from you behind closed doors, there's a reason. They don't want you to see what's going on. And if they don't want you to see what's going on, I think you should be very concerned about your dog because they don't have voices. They cannot come back and tell you what happened. And what you're doing is you're leaving dogs traumatized with no way to cope, and you're making problems worse.
And potential future forever, right? Like this is the big thing with this sort of damage, is it could be lifetime.
It could be. It depends on the dog. If your dog is not resilient enough, you've just ensured that this dog is never going to recover from that trauma.
I think you made a brilliant point, because you said when you were like just a teenager and you were training family dogs and neighbors' dogs, I remember doing the same. Some dogs are so resilient and so mentally robust and just brilliant, to be honest, that they will tolerate it.
Yes.
And then there are other dogs who I think teach us a lot more. I remember one of my dogs once got accidentally shocked on a fence. They were walking past a fence, electric fence, like a stock fence, and accidentally got shocked. And that dog never forgave that spot. That dog always remembered that spot. And that dog was always like, there was always behaviors around that spot. And what they associated it with, I think, was nothing to do with what actually happened. And yet that, for me, is the damage of some levels of punishment training that is put on some dogs daily, multiple times a day.
Absolutely. And thanks to PDT and PDT Geek, the knowledge that I gained through those two programs, one of the things that has now happened, it's interesting how it has happened. I'm not quite sure how it has happened, but people seem to find me. I'm often their third, fourth, last resort trainer. They're already considering surrender or euthanasia by the time they come to me. They've tried multiple trainers. They've tried multiple techniques. So many of the people I start work with have already been using punishment as a day-to-day thing, as a daily thing. And it is incredible, the emotional and psychological fallout of those types of methods, techniques. Huge. You might think you're fixing one problem, but you have no idea how many others you're creating. So
I think that's such a brilliant line. You might think you are fixing one problem, like, I don't know whether that be pulling on lead or barking, but actually what you are creating potentially is a lifetime of other problems.
Yes.
Right.
And oftentimes when people see that, they don't realize that these are connected to what they're doing. So it's often my job to slowly walk them through that process. And oftentimes people still start with me using their prong collars, using their squirt bottles, using whatever technique they're using. And I
fancy.
understand, and I understand, human nature. If I tell you just stop doing that, well,
Absolutely.
some people don't
Absolutely.
feel safe walking their dog without a prong right now. Fine.
Absolutely.
I will get you to that place where you feel comfortable with your dog, and then we can get the prong off.
And
so that
I
is,
love that. I love that, because Mayuri, the same here. Like, if you attack someone with, you can't do that, you effectively will alienate them from day one. So you will lose. You need to learn to love the people with whatever they're doing right now, and then you grow it, right, when they skill up.
here's the thing, Lauren. I was that person.
Absolutely.
I was them. I
And
use punishment. I've used punishment with Rosie. I am not ashamed to admit. I am ashamed of what I did, but I'm not ashamed to admit that I used the alpha role with her.
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe that'll help.
Yeah. I mean, even last week I was talking to a trainer, and this I don't know if this surprises you, but this does surprise me. I was talking to a trainer, and I said, "Oh, I'm really struggling, and I just cannot." It's an agility problem. Easy can be really careless and like really smash poles, and she can be really careless. And I said, like, how do you handle it? Like, because he has the same sort of lines and breeding type, so she's a set line. And he said, I would bite her ear, and I was like, that's funny. No, what would you really do? Like, thinking that was a joke. No, that's not a joke.
I have heard the bite a ear thing more often than I would like. It's insane. The kinds of things.
It's a joke.
No, I mean, the kinds of things that people inflict on their dogs are horrific. If dogs could speak, we would be one of the most, I mean, we are, but it would be even more obvious what a violent species we are. But yeah, with Rosie, I think Rosie and my old Doberman really taught me that lesson, that punishment doesn't work, doesn't take you anywhere. Rosie, it didn't phase her. She was like, haha, you think this is going to stop me? Let me show you. So I'm really grateful for her and her just indomitable spirit for just pushing through everything and saying, no, I need you to pay attention. Listen to me. This is not the way to go. So I started my business, and I wasn't planning to start my business, but all of these things, people started approaching me when they saw Rosie's changes, and they were like, hey, can you help me with my dog? And I was like, well, there's a real need out here, and nobody quite teaches with the games-based approach. It's either punishment-based or it's, more, it is reward-based training, but sometimes those trainers are not willing to take on what are considered difficult cases, resource guarding, for example, or abnormal repetitive behaviors, or the dog's bitten a child. They're not comfortable taking those on. And I feel like every dog has the potential, and this is, again, I've borrowed very much from you and Tom. Every dog has the potential to get better. They just need to be set up for success. So, and again, there are, of course, a very small percentage of cases that cannot be helped. And I have had experience with that as well. But I think as dog trainers, the lesson I have taken for myself is you need to know what your knowledge and operational capacity is. And what I mean by that is, if you feel like a case is too much for you, refer it out. There is absolutely no shame in referring cases out. But if you feel like you can grow and you feel like you can take on a difficult case, even when you feel, every time I take on a tough case, I'm like, I took on a vet recently she's a vet herself. She's been to multiple trainers. She's been through a vet behaviorist. Her dog wasn't improving even then. So those are my dogs barking because someone dropped off a package. But listen, they stop. Raya will give 2 barks and stop. Rosie will give 3 barks and stop. This never happened before. They would have just gone on, and I would have had to leave this to go and settle them. Now Rosie will go on for a little while. You'll understand why she's my.
It's okay. And the same here, right? Like, these guys used to all bark at someone else's dog barking, right? Like, these are all great learning opportunities, and we don't have to make excuses for them. They are dogs, right? They are dogs, and we are still growing together.
But this was not possible for me. They've stopped. This would not have happened. Rosie, you would have heard 10 minutes of her barking. So I am so proud of where I was able to bring Rosie, and not just bring Rosie, but add another dog to the family. I never thought this was possible. But with the learning I got from PDT and PDT Geek, I was able to bring a puppy in. Rosie hates puppies, hates with a capital H. She doesn't like dogs that get in her face and that are bouncy and happy and wiggly, and that's exactly what a puppy is. And yet, with the knowledge that I gained, I was able to integrate another dog. Rosie resource guarded from him in the beginning. She's attacked him multiple times. You try your best, and then even one tiny sometimes slip up and there's a little scuffle. Not that they got into major fights. It was very brief, but it was scary.
Yeah.
And yet, now they are the best of friends. They love playing with each other. They can't wait to play with each other every day. And this is what I'm now able to help with. And I was mentioning that vet who came, and I was so scared. I was so scared of taking her on. I was like, she's been to multiple trainers. She's a vet herself. She's been to a vet behaviorist. I was like, oh, deep breaths, deep breaths. But I do have the knowledge. So despite the trepidation and the self-doubt, you and Tom always encourage us to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take her on. I know I can help her. And she is seeing progress. She is seeing so much progress with her dog. So many other things that she had tried all reward-based techniques,
So cool.
all reward-based techniques.
So cool.
And yet with the games, she's beginning to see progress. So this has happened to me multiple times. Like I will have a client and be like, this is going to be the one that I'm going to be in over my head. It hasn't happened so far, but every time I feel this. So what I'm saying is, if you have the knowledge, if you genuinely believe, I don't say take on people you can't help, or dogs that you can't help, or you can only help halfway. That is doing them a disservice.
So would you say you're a more confident person since doing Pro Dog Trainer?
Whew, Lauren, confidence is the tip of the iceberg. There is a whole other saga that happened when I started my business. So I started my business in 2019 after I finished Pro Dog Trainer and Geek. And I've run businesses before, right? My dental office was a business. I've also been a filmmaker. I ran my own filmmaking business. I know business. But this calling to work with animals was so primal, so deep. When I started working as a dog trainer, I just I don't know how to put it, but I just fell apart. I just couldn't get my ducks in a row. I couldn't charge properly. I felt worthless. I was giving people great results without charging them enough. So I started resenting my clients, and I was like, okay, this is all messed up. This is not how a business should be. And I dug into it deeper, and I was like, okay, I think I need a business coach. So I tried to find a business coach, and the first one of the I ended up with some bad ones who didn't really help me. But then I finally found a good one. And you know what she's told me? She said, I'm not going to take you in my program. Because she said, you have unhealed trauma. And she was right. I have survived abusive relationships. And all of that, I never had to deal with. I kind of pushed it. I was like, yeah, you just shove it in the bottom, and you just go on with your life. That's how you deal with this. And she said, no, you have to work through that, because that is showing up. All those shadows are showing up in your business. This is why you don't feel worthless. This is why you don't value yourself. This is why you're struggling. So she set me off and sent me off to a trauma healing coach. It kicked my butt. It is some of the most hardest, most painful work I have done. But I did it. And at the other end, she said, okay, now you're ready. And then my business took off. I invested in myself. I invested in myself when it came to PDT and PDT Geek. I invested in myself when I went to the trauma healing coach. I invested in myself when I went to the business coach. It felt like I was draining my bank account, and I was taking weeks and months out of my life. But the truth is, it all paid back 100-fold. I am now booked out through August and a little into September. I wouldn't have this if it wasn't for, and honestly, if I hadn't done PDT and PDT Geek, I would never have examined all of that trauma that I had suffered through and given it an opportunity to surface and heal. PDT and Geek pushed me to acknowledge parts of my life that I wasn't dealing with.
And for me,
confidence is just the
tip of the iceberg. When you said
the very tippy tip.
I love that. And I think I love the way you've seen it as an opportunity. I also love the way that you said, like, it felt like one point, like maybe you could be draining your time or your bank account, but actually the amount of time it's probably given you back, and the amount of pleasure it's probably given you back, and actually the amount of growth it's given you back, it way outweighs any time or money worry concerns, right?
the shirt I'm wearing for a reason. It's about community. It's about love. I couldn't feel this. I had people around me who cared about me. But because I was so trapped in my trauma, I could not receive help. I could not receive love. Dealing with all of that and finding this amazing community of dog trainers who are so invested in each other's success. I don't know if there is another place on earth like this.
I think we have created a really cool community. And when I say we, I mean you, I mean people like Key, Alexo, like I can think of some amazing, amazing game changers in that group that I'm like, Kev,
Yes.
some amazing Jess, like literally Jessie, Karen, like there are some amazing people there that for me, and so many more, because I don't want to miss anyone. There are so many.
There are so many people. And
What a
you know,
special community.
it's been, I don't know another place I could have been myself. I don't know of another place where I could be vulnerable and would feel accepted and loved and supported. I'm speaking at a dog training conference this week. Who thought I was capable of this? But apparently I am. I was very scared of being seen. That was one of the things my business coach had to really call me out on several times. She's like, stop hiding. And I was like, but it's safe here.
No, and that's amazing.
And just being able to reach out and do that, the amount of support I have received from the Pro Dog Trainer tribe, the amount of heartfelt love, I don't think I would get it anywhere else. So I am, if you think I've drunk the Kool-Aid, you're probably right.
I love it. So what would be your biggest takeaway from something like Pro Dog Trainer?
You only want me to give you one?
The biggest one.
I will tell you that I learned to look at life differently. Forget my dog. Forget Rosie, forget Raya, forget their friendship, forget all the other dogs and people I've helped so far. Forget all of that. Just me. If I just look at myself, my life is completely different. I was not an optimistic person. I was not someone, I pushed envelopes and I pushed boundaries, but I did them with a lot of fear. Now I do it with excitement. That, I think, that alone, just living life with optimism, you guys are infectious. You know that, right? Yeah, like you don't quarantine yourselves. You're spreading your,
infection everywhere.
Yes, your contagion of optimism all over the globe. So I totally blame you too. But yeah, I caught the bug, and now I pass it on to my clients. When I talk about blips, and I hold their hand when they're having a rough day, but over Zoom. I only do all my training businesses online. But
and you say you haven't always been this optimistic person. This isn't always been.
No, okay. Actually, let me give you some more context. Because of my history, I suffered from depression for decades. This has been ongoing for a long time.
And
many
thank
decades.
you for being so vulnerable. You are really being honest with everyone here.
I feel like there is such a stigma to talk about mental health. There is and people suffer for it needlessly, because we need to step up and learn to be kind. We need to step up and understand that people may have their flaws, may have their difficulties, but everyone's trying. Give a little, a kind ear, a smile. If you can be kind, if you can be nothing else, be kind. So, but that's the other thing that happened. Again, this wouldn't have happened without PDT and Geek. I thought I was condemned to my depression for the rest of my life. I found that trauma healing program, and after I healed, the bulk of my trauma, my depression is gone.
Which is incredible. That's incredible.
I don't have depressive episodes anymore. So I thought I had this life sentence. I mean, what greater gift? What greater gift could I ask for? So, I mean, PTT and PTT Geek just set into motion this amazing set of events that when I look back now, it just sounds incredible. If someone told me this, I'd be like, you're lying. But no, it's incredible. It's actually my life.
What you're telling me is incredible. Like, what an incredible change, transformation, level up. Like, literally, that is incredible. And if someone was to ask you, Mayuri, like, should I do this? Is this something I should do? Or is this something I should consider? Because let's be honest, it's scary, right? Like making decisions like that can be quite intimidating, quite scary, and often makes us ask, like, am I good enough for this, or should I be investing in myself, or do I have the right skills, or a lot of people don't feel worthy of that.
Yeah, actually, I struggled with that when I started. I was on the fence. I was like, oh, I really want to do it, but is this the right program? It's so much money. I have a full-time job. How am I going to manage this? It's only for my dog. Maybe I'll just find another trainer. Like, it was just, on and on and on and on and on and on in my head, because my mind is really good at negative self-talk, or used to be. Does it anymore?
Yeah, I love it.
But what I would say is, what is it that drives you? Why are you considering this? If you're considering this program, there is something that is driving you to consider it. Ask that drive, what would happen if I ignored you? And my answer to you is, I tried that. I wanted to work with animals since the age of 4.
Yeah.
It never went away. It was like, no, this is going to keep bothering you until you do something about it. And now that I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like this, isn't
exactly,
it?
Exactly. It's going to keep pricking you. So my question is, why would you sit with that pain? There's 2 kinds of pain. The one pain is sitting with that the constant like thing trying to almost get out of you, like the chest buster in Aliens. And the second kind of pain is, I have to spend a lot of money and time doing this. Yeah. And I will tell you, the money, time, and effort you spend doing this is far more rewarding. One pain is punishing, and one pain is going to end up being rewarding, even though it's painful in the short term. So I would say, ask yourself what is driving you for this, and then grab that drive with both hands and say, okay, take me to the other side.
Take me.
That's what I did.
Take me.
Yes.
And have your well, obviously your husband and or family, friends, have they always been supportive? How's that been? How's that journey been?
Rocky.
I love your honesty.
No, they've actually tried everything. I mean, not my husband, but most other people in my life tried everything in their power to stamp it out of me. And I don't use the word stamp it out lightly. It was brutal in trying to get me to do what they expected my life should look like. Even now, there are people have shunned me for wanting the things I wanted. But you know what I've realized? Those are not my people.
I love this. I love this. And it's taken me a long time with my parents. I mean, I'd say only in the last maybe 5 years have they truly accepted what I do. And I think it took like Absolute and Pro Dog Trainer and Academy and them seeing like these people. And at first they were like, loopy, loads of loopy people. And now they're like, my goodness, this is amazing. They quiz me on it and they try and find out more and they want to know who's coming, and they come out to have a look and say hello to everyone. And you know what, it took a long time to get a level of acceptance, and yet there's a part of us as human beings that really want acceptance. Like that's a very basic need, to be accepted and to be celebrated, right? Like, but sometimes you've got to go against that.
Yes, I've been accused of wanting to be part of a cult. And I'm like, if it's a cult that promotes optimism and a better way of life and a good life for people and other dogs, and including me, I think it's a fine cult to be part of. It's a fine cult.
I shall be the cult leader. Too funny.
But the truth is that, PDT and Geek also helped me, made me confident in approaching and learning from other people, where before I would have felt, well, I'm not that good a trainer. This person's like so far above me. And now I'm like, no, they have something interesting. I want to learn that. And I'm a capable enough trainer that I know that learning new things is going to keep leveling me up. So I have continued to, seek new certifications, learn from more people, but PDT is my home.
Yeah.
So it absolutely is what has kept the spark alive. I don't think I would do very well in many other dog spaces, but in Absolute Dogs, I have absolutely thrived.
You're smashing it. And I suppose, what makes the Pro Dog Trainer or Absolute Dogs most unique, in your opinion?
The optimism, hands down. The optimism and the support. Like I sound like a broken record right now, but honestly, like those 2 things are so hard to find. People want to drag you down. They want to tell you all the ways that you should feel awful about yourself. They want to tell you how useless you are and how you should stay in that, beneath their foot so they can continue to tell you how they are better than you. This happens over and over again. And the kind of judgment I see between dog trainers, it's really unnecessary. You may not be a games-based dog trainer. You might be doing some other kind of dog training. It's okay. We can all coexist and we can all do things the way, it's like, I've been a dentist for long enough to know. I've seen my colleagues. There are some doctors who will prefer a technique and or a specific tool or a specific material. And that's really good in their hands. If you give those same exact tools and techniques and materials to another doctor, they might not do so well with it. That's okay. We are all unique people. We can come to it with our own unique skill sets. Just because one thing doesn't look like the other doesn't mean it's bad.
No.
So I think that sort of openness is present in the absolute dogs community. I don't see it many other places. A lot of closed doors, a lot of closed hearts everywhere else.
And I think it's always really refreshing to hear, like, optimism doesn't ever seem to get old, right? Like, everyone still needs it. Everyone wants it. I love that. I really do, because I think it's the best way to live.
And the truth is, it also looks different. Like, optimism for me, when I started PDT, was different than the way it looked maybe when I just started my business, than when it looked when I finally got my footing and learned how to actually push my business forward to now. But it's the same glorious window to look out of and be like, yes, let's get there. This is fun. I get to do this. And all of this I've learned from you.
And I love that. And if someone was to say to you, Mayuri, that they're a bit sat on the fence, like they're just not sure, a little bit worried, a little bit scared, a little bit fearful, what would you say to them?
Fear is a good emotion to have. Fear has kept me safe many times in my life. And I mean this in dire situations, honestly. Fear is a good emotion to have. It is telling you that you are concerned about something, that there is something that needs to be examined. But what fear shouldn't be is a stop sign or a red light. Fear is just an orange light saying, stop, stop, stop. Something feels uncomfortable. Figure out what that is. What is causing the discomfort? Find the root of that discomfort. See if there is a way to meet that. I'll give you an example. I told myself that I would do this program, the PDT and PDT Geek program, and this I would consider an investment in myself and Rosie to help her, because I would probably spend that much money on another trainer anyway. So because my fear was spending so much money, right?
Yeah.
So I addressed that fear. That fear was very valid. I addressed that fear and I said, here's a compromise. I would have paid a trainer this much. Instead, I'm teaching myself. And that's how I justified. For me, it was financial, very much.
Yeah.
So that's, and I now this may not exactly work for you. You may have a different perspective on what you're trying to do. But my point is, find the fear, acknowledge it. Most of us just want to no, I don't want to deal with you, fear. And then fears become bigger. The more you push them away, the bigger they become. Oppositional reflex. So I feel the more you examine your fears, the more you find that something that looks this big is actually that much. And it's only one thought. Like, okay, help that thought. Because that's a part of you that's telling you, I'm scared. Okay, what would you do to a scared person? You wouldn't push them away. You would reassure them. So same thing with the fear. Reassure it. Say, you know what? Here's what we're going to do to help you through this. And this is how and then be afraid, but take the next step anyway.
I love it. Be afraid and do it anyway. Like, really, really, really cool stuff. Like, really cool stuff. And now tell me just, I know I've quizzed you for long enough, but tell me where you are now. Like, where are you now in your business? Where are you now in your dog training journey? Where are you now with your own 2 dogs? And actually, I love, and I'm going to reiterate that you just said that you are full until September right now. Like, that's so cool. And you're booking into September. Like, that is absolutely insane from a dog training sort of business model. That's really, really cool. So yeah, how's everything going for you now?
Oh my gosh. So I have been possessed by a new dream. It's not really that new, but it's kind of new. Of course, my online business is growing a lot. All of the training I do right now is online, one-on-one, and I'm quickly reaching capacity. And what I'm seeing is there's, I can help people everywhere, but I'm also seeing a need myself. I was joking with Tom that Rosie didn't have a trainer, so I became a trainer. Rosie can't be boarded because she's so difficult. So my next big idea, and I don't know when this will happen, I've given myself the next 5 years. My big idea is I want to start a boarding for dogs like Rosie, boarding and training. It will come with training, but I'm not necessarily, it'll be something that'll go together. But for dogs that are stranger, are like Rosie, wanted to take people's faces off if possible, or wanted to fight other dogs, they don't have a place to go in regular boarding spaces, especially where they just throw 30 dogs together. That these dogs are not built for that.
They're not
safe. I want to create a space where I have a team that is able to handle difficult dogs. And speaking of team, my current immediate goal with my business is to start expanding my team a little bit. I'm not quite sure how that's going to happen, but every idea has started like that. Like, I have this idea, I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but let's somehow it will happen. That's kind of been how it's worked out so far. So
I love
my
that.
goal right now is to find actually a virtual assistant, because I'm finding that I need help. It's grown enough that I need a little help now. And then in the future, my hope is to maybe bring on another PDT who will work alongside me, because I'm getting a lot more cases and a lot of difficult cases that other trainers don't want to touch or have tried and said, sorry, just, whatever. I just shrug their shoulders and been like, this is all we can do.
I think that's an incredible dream, though. And I think to have, like you said, to have a space when so you can escape your own home, and everybody needs a bit of respite and everyone needs a bit of leaving. And like, I adore owning a dog like Brave, like she's incredible. And yet it's tiring, like to own a dog that needs that much input and needs that much, I mean, hers is physio and daily care. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And so everyone needs, whether it's looking after a dog's safety, like Rosie, and safety to other people and other dogs, or whether it's looking after that dog physically, everybody needs the ability to rest, right?
I have clients who haven't taken a vacation in 6 years.
Yeah.
So that's important. And, speaking of physio, Lauren, my bigger dream is to actually have, because, it's so obvious now from all of the learning I've gained in PDT and Geek that health and behavior are so connected. I want to have like a physical rehab place or something for sports dogs. I want to have a veterinary clinic on site so we can look into medical issues, because oftentimes I'm contacted for a behavior problem, which turns out to really be a medical issue that is exacerbating everything else. And unless we deal with the medical issue, I always tell my clients, I am not going to start training, because that poor dog, unless they feel better, we cannot ask anything of them. So
I know that's crazy. I mean, me saying about the tooth, right? Like when it's painful, I'm like, don't try and do anything. Like literally, try and make me do this, because I'm like not feeling cool. Like, and you have to get the pain under control, or at least like wherever you can get it, or you have to go beyond that and work out what the pain is, to make everything.
I've had clients we had a consultation because for a behavior issue, and I tell them, no, this is what I'm suspecting. But having a medical background, also helps me, because I kind of can figure out like what's going on a little bit. And hearing Tom's talks have always helped, to see how he sees the world of health. So there have been 2 or 3 clients recently that came to me with severe behavior struggles. And when I went through the behavior questionnaire, and I was like, okay, I actually don't think this is a behavior problem. Here are the things I want you to ask your vet, and I'll give them a list. And 2 of those clients, they solved there were medical issues that they had not realized. They solved those medical issues and the behavior problems went away. And I was like, great. I love it. I love that they don't need my services, because the dog's happy now.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely amazing. Now, Mayuri, this has been incredible. I absolutely appreciate all of your time. Like, you've been amazing. I want to say from both Tom and I how proud and how incredibly proud we are of your journey. Like, you have been absolutely immense. Your growth, your change, your smile, your happiness. I also have to say, I loved seeing you at the airport where you came charging and you were like, Tom, Lauren. And I literally remember that day so well, bringing me beautiful pictures and just amazing. You're in a creative, innovative, very special person, and well done from the bottom of my heart. Like literally so insanely proud of where you are. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to travel and see you both in person again soon.
I hope so. You'd be welcome. Very long. You'd be very welcome here. You'd be so welcome in Devon. And I know that, yeah, Brave, me, Tom, we'd all love it. So that would be incredible. And that was this episode of the Sexier Than A Squirrel podcast. I literally don't know how we're going to top that, because that was pretty special. Join us next week for more incredible dog training transformation, and let's be honest, human transformation, and taking ourselves to a whole new level, space and dizzy height. Literally, like I said, I don't know how it's going to get any better, but I think everyone out there needs to first off remember to
stay sexy with me.